Picture this, a dimly lit corridor, the air heavy with the weight of centuries-old secrets. A sudden chill brushes past as a shadowy figure drifts through the walls of an ancient castle. No sound but the echo of your own heartbeat racing in the silence. Welcome to the mysterious world of the haunted and the unexplained.
That's the kind of chilling encounter many claim to have experienced at some of the most famous haunted locations around the world. From the windswept moors of England to the dense forests of America, every culture has its tales of the supernatural.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're taking you on a global ghost tour, exploring places that aren't just landmarks, but epicenters of paranormal activity. Why do these places fascinate us so much? What is it about abandoned asylums, ancient castles, and lonely lighthouses that captures our imagination?
It's a blend of history and mystery, Alex. These haunted locations are often steeped in history, each with a dark tale to tell. They challenge our understanding of the world and push the boundaries of what we believe is possible.
So, whether you're a skeptic who dismisses these as mere stories or a believer in the paranormal, join us as we explore the eerie, the chilling, and the unexplained. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on TikTok at Hallowed Hauntings, and visit our blog at hallowedhauntings.com for more spine-tingling content.
Get ready, because these aren't just ghost stories. They're invitations to look deeper into the shadows of history. Who knows what you might discover?
Delving into the heart of London, there stands a structure that's as formidable as it is foreboding, the Tower of London. Known as one of the most haunted places in the UK, its walls are steeped in a dark and bloody history that whispers tales of the past to those who walk its grounds.
And it's not just the architecture that captivates the visitors, but the stories of those who never left. The tower has earned its reputation as a hotbed for paranormal activity. But what is it about this place that seems to attract so much spectral attention?
It's a question that draws thousands of visitors each year, each hoping to catch a glimpse of the past, or perhaps encounter something beyond. Could it be the echoes of the tortured souls that once walked these halls?
To understand the hauntings, we need to look back at the history of the tower. Originally built by William the Conqueror in 1066, it was intended as a symbol of Norman power, standing strong on the River Thames.
Over the centuries, it's been a royal palace, a fortress, even a zoo. But perhaps most famously, it's been a prison and an execution site. The names read like a who's who of historical drama, Anne Boleyn, Thomas More, Lady Jane Grey, all imprisoned and executed within these walls.
That's right, Alex. And each of these figures left their mark on the tower. Anne Boleyn, perhaps one of the most poignant ghosts said to haunt the site, was executed here in 1536, and her spirit is reported to still roam the Tower Green where she met her tragic end.
It's a chilling thought, Sam. The idea that those who suffered here might still linger, bound to the place of their demise. Does history imprint itself on these places, or is there something more that keeps these spirits here?
Whatever the answer may be, the Tower of London serves as a grim reminder of our turbulent past. And who knows? Perhaps these hauntings are a way for history to make sure we don't forget.
Let's delve deeper into the spectral inhabitants of the Tower of London. Anne Boleyn, the queen who lost her head, quite literally, is perhaps the most famous ghost reported here. But she's not alone, right, Sam?
Absolutely, Alex. There's also the tragic figure of Lady Jane Grey, glimpsed as a forlorn shadow on the anniversary of her execution. Then there's the Countess of Salisbury, who, legend has it, runs from her executioner, reenacting her gruesome death.
It's fascinating and a bit terrifying to think about these figures, once so vibrant and alive, now said to be caught in an eternal loop of their darkest moments. What does that say about the energy left behind at places marked by such intense human experiences?
It's not just the stories from centuries ago that captivate us, but the ongoing encounters that really bring the chill. Guards and visitors alike have reported seeing these apparitions. One guard even recounted feeling a sudden chill and seeing a misty figure pass right through the bloody tower's walls.
And there's the story of the young boy who saw two children in nightgowns holding hands, looking terrified in the former royal chambers. These first-hand accounts add a layer of undeniable eeriness to the tower's atmosphere.
Speaking of atmosphere, the tower has been a hotspot for paranormal investigators for years. Teams equipped with the latest technology, thermal cameras, EVP recorders, you name it, have tried to capture concrete evidence of the paranormal.
And some of these investigations have yielded intriguing results, like unexplained thermal anomalies or EVP recordings that seem to capture voices from the past. A voice that chillingly said, and, get the hence, was captured right near the scaffold site. Coincidence? Or something more?
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, the data and stories coming from these investigations certainly make you wonder about the mysteries that history has left behind. What do you think, listeners? Is the Tower of London a portal to the past, a keeper of souls who can't find peace? Stay with us as we next venture into the shadowy depths of the catacombs in Paris, where history takes an even darker turn. But first, let us know in the comments. Have you ever experienced something you just couldn't explain? We'd love to hear your stories. Now, let's take a journey beneath the bustling streets of Paris to a place as silent as it is eerie, the Catacombs. Imagine wandering through narrow, dimly lit corridors surrounded by the bones of over 6 million people. It's like stepping into a different world, a macabre maze beneath the city of light.
It's a chilling contrast, isn't it, Sam? Above, the city vibrates with life, but down here, it's a silent city of the dead. These underground ossuaries hold the remains stacked neatly along the walls, creating patterns and markings that speak of a time long gone yet vividly remembered.
Exactly, Alex. And the air down here, it's cool, musty, carrying whispers of the past. Can you imagine walking these corridors by the flicker of a lone candle, bones crunching softly underfoot? What stories might these old bones tell if they could speak?
To understand why these bones came to rest here, we need to go back to the late 18th century. Paris was then facing a public health crisis. The city's cemeteries were overflowing, literally. Reports tell of cellar walls breaking under the weight of bodies, spilling decay into the streets.
That's gruesome, Alex. It led to a critical decision to transfer the remains to abandoned quarry tunnels beneath the city. Starting in 1786, a process that would take 2 years, the bones of the deceased were moved during the night in a macabre parade led by priests in black cloaks.
It's a stark image, Sam, one that sets the stage for the catacombs as not just a burial site but as a solution to urban overcrowding and disease. But as practical as their origins were, these catacombs have grown into something much more profound. They're a monument to the dead, a reflection on life's impermanence.
And perhaps a reminder, Alex, that beneath every bustling city, there are layers of history, some darker than others. What do you think, listeners? Would you dare to roam the catacombs at night, to feel the echoes of history all around you?
Diving deeper into the ghostly presence in the catacombs of Paris, it's not just the bones that tell a story, it's the spirits. Legend has it that the catacombs are home to lost souls and even ghostly monks, wandering the endless dark corridors.
Imagine Alex, monks whose earthly duties tied them to the care of the deceased, possibly continuing their work beyond the veil. There are stories of visitors hearing the soft murmur of prayers or chanting, echoing through the bone-filled tunnels. Could these be the echoes of the past, or something a bit more present?
It's a haunting thought, Sam. And it's not just monks. Many report feeling watched, hearing whispers directly in their ears, or even feeling a cold touch on their shoulders as they navigate the narrow passages. It makes you wonder, could these be the lost souls trying to communicate, or perhaps trying to find their way out?
And speaking of finding their way, tourists and paranormal enthusiasts alike have shared some chilling encounters. One such visitor described feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness and despair, so intense it brought them to tears, without any explanation.
That's intense, Sam. I read about another explorer who captured an unexplained figure on camera. The figure appeared to be a man in old-fashioned clothes, just standing among the bones, then disappearing into the shadows. No history of staged tricks or actors down there, which just adds to the mystery.
The influence of the Paris catacombs extends far beyond its tunnels. It's permeated into horror and popular culture worldwide. From films to books, the eerie appeal of this underground cemetery captivates the imagination of millions.
Exactly, Sam. Think about it, the catacombs have inspired countless horror stories and films where characters confront not just the supernatural, but their own fears and pasts. It's a powerful metaphor, isn't it? Descending into the darkness to face what's hidden beneath.
It really is, Alex. And it's not just about fear. The catacombs remind us of our mortality, a kind of macabre equalizer. Rich or poor, famous or forgotten, in the end, we all return to the earth. How's that for a sobering thought?
Next, we head north to Scotland, where the imposing silhouette of Edinburgh Castle dominates the skyline. This ancient fortress is not just a cornerstone of Scottish history, it's a hotbed of supernatural occurrences. Perched on an extinct volcanic crag, the castle's very location feels like something out of a Gothic novel, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, Alex. There's something about this place that feels like stepping back in time, into a world where the lines between the past and the present blur. Edinburgh Castle is a place where history is alive, and, some might say, so are its former inhabitants.
The history of Edinburgh Castle is as rich and complex as the tapestry of Scotland itself. Its origins date back to the Iron Age, and it has been a royal residence, a military garrison, and a prison.
Throughout its long history, the castle has witnessed numerous sieges and battles, each leaving behind scars not just on the walls, but in the very fabric of the place. It's been at the heart of Scotland's struggles and triumphs, from the wars of Scottish independence to the Jacobite rebellions.
And with such a tumultuous past, it's no wonder that Edinburgh Castle is reputed to be one of the most haunted locations in Scotland. Legends, ghost stories, and unexplained occurrences are woven into its very stones.
That's right, Alex. The castle isn't just an iconic landmark. It's a symbol of Scotland's rugged history, standing watch over Edinburgh for centuries. Imagine the secrets it holds, the tales it could tell if these stones could speak.
As we peel back the layers of history at Edinburgh Castle, the ghostly residents begin to emerge from the shadows. There are numerous reports of sightings involving former prisoners and soldiers, echoes of the castle's past as a military barracks and prison.
And don't forget about the castle's most unexpected spectral inhabitant, Alex, the ghost dog. Visitors often talk about seeing a phantom canine wandering the castle grounds, particularly around the dog cemetery where soldiers' pets were once buried. It's both eerie and endearing, isn't it?
Absolutely, Sam. It adds a strangely humane touch to the ghostly narratives. But speaking of human touches, there are chilling tales of a headless drummer, first spotted before an attack on the castle in 1650, whose ominous beats are heard echoing through the halls when the castle faces danger.
The castle not only attracts history buffs, but also thrill seekers hoping to catch a glimpse of the paranormal. Many visitors report strange sensations as they explore. The feeling of being watched, sudden drops in temperature, or an inexplicable sense of dread in certain parts of the fortress.
There's also the story of a tourist who felt a tug on her jacket while touring the dungeons, only to turn around and find no one there. These personal encounters really bring the haunted history of Edinburgh Castle to life, igniting the imagination and, perhaps, a bit of fear.
For those brave enough to delve deeper, Edinburgh Castle offers popular ghost tours that highlight these spooky tales and locations. These tours are a big hit, especially around Halloween, when the veil between worlds is said to be thinnest.
The tours provide not just a history lesson, but an immersive experience. Guides recount tales of ancient battles, secret plots, and the many ghosts believed to haunt the castle. They also point out the hotspots where supernatural activity is most often reported.
And let's not forget the After Dark tours, Alex. They ramp up the eerie atmosphere, taking visitors through the same ancient corridors and shadowy corners where the castle's ghostly residents are said to roam.
As we transition from the ancient stones of haunted castles to the echoing halls of abandoned hospitals and asylums, we find ourselves stepping into some of the most chilling chapters of human history.
That's right, Alex. Hospitals, and asylums are places where life, death, hope, and despair have intersected dramatically. They've been the settings for great medical advances, but also, unfortunately, for suffering and sorrow.
And it's in these settings, where emotional and physical extremes were once everyday realities, that many believe the past lingers most powerfully. The energies of former patients, doctors, and tragic events are said to haunt these places, leaving behind a palpable sense of their presence.
We're talking about locations like Waverly Hills Sanatorium, where thousands of tuberculosis patients spent their final days, and institutions like the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, where the troubled minds of yesteryear roamed restless corridors.
These sites have become hotspots not only for ghost hunters and paranormal investigators, but also for those curious about the darker side of medical history. The stories they hold are not just tales of hauntings, but reflections on our own fears and curiosities about death and the unknown.
So, as we explore these haunted hospitals and asylums, we invite you to consider not only the spirits that might remain, but also the stories they tell us about our past and ourselves. It's a journey that's as thought-provoking as it is terrifying.
Buckle up, listeners. We're about to open the doors to some of the most haunted healthcare facilities in the world. And who knows? The things we uncover might just redefine your understanding of what it means to be haunted. Let's visit Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. Once known as one of the most advanced tuberculosis hospitals in the country, its past is as dark as its sprawling, shadowy halls.
Absolutely, Alex. Opened in the early 20th century to combat the white plague of tuberculosis, Waverly Hills became the final resting place for thousands. The sheer number of deaths here has led many to consider it one of the most haunted locations in the United States.
Tuberculosis was a deadly disease with no known cure until antibiotics were introduced. Waverly Hills tried to combat this with the most advanced treatments of the time, which, unfortunately, were often quite brutal.
We're talking about procedures like thoracoplasty, where ribs were removed to allow the lungs to expand, and sunlight treatment, where patients were exposed to sunlight for long hours, believing it would help cure the disease.
And it's these treatments, combined with the high death toll estimates suggest up to 8,000 people may have died here, that contribute heavily to the sanatorium's haunted reputation. The energies and emotions from that era seem to have left a permanent mark on the halls of Waverly Hills.
And speaking of marks, the ghost stories here are particularly chilling. One of the most famous apparitions is that of a nurse who reportedly hanged herself in room 502 after becoming pregnant out of wedlock and contracting tuberculosis.
Then there are the shadow figures that seem to flicker through the hallways, always just out of sight. Visitors and paranormal investigators alike report these eerie sightings, describing them as unnerving and very much real.
Besides the apparitions, there's a host of other unexplained phenomena at Waverly Hills. This includes voices that echo with no source, the sound of footsteps in empty corridors, and lights seen flickering through windows in parts of the building that have no power.
There's also the chilling account of the death tunnel or body chute, a passageway used to discreetly transport the deceased from the hospital to avoid upsetting the patients. It's said to be one of the most paranormally active areas in the sanatorium, where visitors report everything from sudden temperature drops to the feeling of being touched by unseen hands.
Waverly Hills has not only captured the imagination of those who have walked its haunted halls, but also filmmakers and television producers. It's been featured in numerous paranormal investigation shows and horror films, each attempting to capture the essence of its ghostly presence.
These appearances have only added to the lore of Waverly Hills, making it a must-visit for anyone intrigued by the paranormal. It's a place where history and horror intersect, leaving an indelible impression on all who dare to enter. Let's journey to the Southern Hemisphere, to Aradale Mental Hospital in Australia. Sprawling over 100 acres, this facility stands as one of the largest abandoned mental hospitals in the world. With its towering buildings and vast, empty halls, Aradale's presence is as imposing as its history.
It's eerie, Alex, walking through those abandoned wards where over 13,000 patients once lived and many, unfortunately, died. Today, its silence is loud, filled only with the echoes of its past residents.
Aradale was opened in 1867 and operated for over a century. It was designed as part of a trio of sister facilities to provide care for the mentally ill in Victoria, Australia. But the treatments here, reflective of the times, could be quite harsh.
That's right, Alex. The hospital employed methods like isolation, restraint, and even lobotomies in its early days. It was a place of last resort, where society sent those it couldn't understand, or sadly, often didn't want to.
The intense history has left behind more than just memories. There are numerous reports of paranormal activity. One of the most talked about spirits is that of Nurse Carrie, who is said to linger in the women's wing.
Visitors and paranormal investigators have reported seeing her figure wandering the halls, often described as looking deeply sorrowful. And then there are the sounds, cries and whispers that seem to come from empty rooms.
Given its reputation, Aradale has become a focal point for ghost tours and paranormal investigations. These tours take guests through the most active areas of the hospital, including the surgery block and the morgue, under the cover of night.
And these aren't just your average spooky tours. Paranormal teams come equipped with all sorts of gadgets aimed at communicating with the other side. They've captured EVPs, orbs, and even video footage that will make even skeptics' skin crawl.
Aradale's impact extends beyond its walls into the local culture. It's woven into the fabric of local lore, with stories passed down through generations. It serves as a chilling reminder of how mental health care has evolved and how the past can linger in public consciousness.
Absolutely, Alex. It's a place that challenges us to remember the forgotten and to learn from the past. And for those who dare to listen, these stories of Aradale might just reveal more about the living than the dead.
Shifting our focus to the Byberry Mental Hospital in Philadelphia, this facility started with high hopes of revolutionizing mental health care. It was intended as a humane treatment facility, a beacon of progressive care for the mentally ill.
But as with many institutions of its kind, the ideals of Byberry were overshadowed by darker realities. It became infamous not for its care, but for the horrendous conditions that emerged over time.
Opened in 1907, Byberry began as a small farm providing therapeutic work environments for patients. However, as the decades passed, the facility expanded rapidly, becoming a sprawling complex that was chronically overcrowded and underfunded.
The overcrowding led to dire conditions. By the mid-20th century, Byberry housed thousands of patients in buildings designed for far fewer. Reports and photographs from the period show patients sleeping in hallways, inadequate sanitation, and neglect.
It was these conditions that eventually caught public attention in the 1940s, thanks to exposés by journalists and photographers who were shocked by what they found. This led to a national outcry for reform in the mental health care system.
And where there is such despair, stories of hauntings often follow. Former staff and patients, as well as urban explorers, have reported encounters with the lingering presences of those who suffered there.
Tales include sightings of spectral patients roaming the decrepit wards, eerie cries in the night, and unexplained shadows moving just at the edge of vision. The intensity of the emotional residue seems to have left a permanent imprint on the site.
Byberry was finally closed in the late 1980s, but it stood abandoned for decades before its demolition. During that time, it became a magnet for ghost hunters and the curious, drawn by its notorious history and the chilling reports of paranormal activity.
The state of the buildings, crumbling and covered in graffiti, only added to the eerie atmosphere, making Byberry a classic example of a haunted ruin. The reports of hauntings continued right up until the buildings were torn down in the early 2000s.
The haunting reputation of Byberry has been cemented in popular culture through documentaries and media coverage. These accounts have explored the dark history of the hospital, highlighting not just the paranormal claims, but also the human stories of suffering and neglect.
It serves as a stark reminder of our past failures in mental health care and the need for ongoing vigilance in how we treat the most vulnerable among us. The ghost stories of Byberry aren't just tales of fear, they are, in a way, echoes of a plea for compassion and understanding. As we leave behind the shadowy corridors of haunted hospitals and asylums, our journey takes us into the realm of the ancient and noble. Welcome to the section where we explore cursed castles and forts, the timeless guardians of history's darkest secrets.
Castles and forts. These aren't just the stuff of fairy tales or medieval battles. They're also the epicenters of lore and legends, places where the past feels alive, draped in the heavy cloak of mystery. Each stone and turret might hold a curse or tell a tale of tragedy and betrayal.
And it's in these places, Sam, where history often intersects with the supernatural. Why do you think that is? Is it because these castles have stood the test of time, bearing witness to centuries of human drama?
I think you're onto something, Alex. These castles and forts have been the sites of intense emotion, battles, sieges, loves, and betrayals. It's as if the emotional residue has soaked into the very walls, and what we're left with are stories of hauntings and curses that echo through the ages.
From the windswept ruins of Scotland to the imposing fortresses of India, these structures are more than just stone and mortar. They are storied places where the veil between the past and the present seems thinnest.
And let's not forget the allure of a good curse. Tales of cursed treasures, doomed lovers, and betrayed kings add an extra layer of intrigue to these ancient sites, compelling us to delve deeper and perhaps in doing so, stir the spirits that some say still roam these halls.
So, whether you're a history buff, a paranormal enthusiast, or just someone who loves a good ghost story, this section promises to chill and thrill. What curses will we uncover? What spirits will we disturb? Stay tuned as we explore some of the most cursed castles and forts from around the world.
And as we set the stage for tales of spectral armies and phantom queens, remember to keep the lights on. You never know what shadows might linger in the corner of your room as we summon the stories of the past.
Now, let's travel to a place so haunted, its very name sends shivers down the spine, Bhangarh Fort in India. Nestled at the edge of the Sariska Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan, this 17th century fort is famously forbidden to visitors from sunset to sunrise.
That's right, Alex. It's one of those places cloaked not just in shadows, but in superstitions, warnings, and an air of mystery that can make even the most skeptical visitor pause. The sign at the entrance explicitly forbids entry at night, claiming that those who enter after dark may never return.
Bhangarh was built by King Madho Singh in 1613, named after his grandfather Ban Singh. While its architecture is a marvel, featuring grand palaces, majestic temples, and lush gardens, it's not the beauty of the fort that draws the curious, it's the curse.
Legend has it that the fort became cursed when a wizard who fell in love with the beautiful Princess Ratnavati of Bhangarh cast a spell on a perfume she was meant to receive. When the spell was discovered, the princess thwarted it, leading to the wizard's death. But with his dying breath, he cursed the entire fort.
And it's said that the curse brought down a tragic fate on the entire town. Today, the fort is rumored to be haunted by the ghost of the princess and the wizard, among others. Visitors report seeing apparitions, hearing whispers, and even feeling unseen touches.
The most common sightings include the princess wandering through the ruins, her expression sad and searching. There's also talk of the wizard's shadowy figure looming at the fort's boundaries at dusk, as if guarding a secret that was lost with the sands of time.
The local government has taken these legends seriously, or at least the safety concerns they might raise. Hence the strict no-entry rule after sunset, which is enforced to prevent any mishaps, or perhaps to keep the curious from invoking the wrath of the fort's spectral residents.
Bhangarh Fort isn't just a tourist destination. It's a significant part of Indian folklore. It embodies a blend of beauty, history, and the supernatural that captures the imagination of not just locals, but anyone who hears its tale.
Indeed, Sam. In a culture as rich with myths and legends as India's, Bhangarh stands out as a testament to the power of storytelling. It's a place where history and myth intersect, creating a narrative that's as captivating as it is chilling. From the sun-drenched plains of India to the dense forests of the Czech Republic, our next stop is Houska Castle. This is no ordinary castle. It's a fortress shrouded in dark legend, purportedly built over a chasm so deep and ominous that it was said to be a hole to hell.
It's the kind of place that makes you question the line between myth and reality. Built in the 13th century, without strategic significance, no enemies to fend off, and no gold to guard, Houska was designed with a single purpose: to keep something from escaping, rather than to keep intruders out.
That's right, Sam. The castle's location was chosen for the hole, which locals believed was a gateway to hell. The legends say that half-animal, half-human creatures would emerge from this pit, and dark-winged creatures flew in its skies.
Over the centuries, it's been said that prisoners who were sentenced to death were offered pardons if they consented to be lowered into the hole by rope to report what they saw. Few accepted, and those who did were pulled up screaming, their hair turned shock white, driven mad by an unknown horror.
The eerie history sets the stage for numerous ghostly sightings at Houska. Visitors and staff have reported encounters with a variety of apparitions, including demonic creatures and the spirits of the unfortunate souls who were thrown into the hole as a medieval form of execution.
There's also talk of a headless black horse that gallops through the courtyard at night, and a woman in an old-fashioned gown seen in the chapel, her presence often accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature. Classic signs of a haunting.
Given its haunting reputation, Houska Castle has attracted scores of paranormal investigators. Many have tried to uncover evidence of the supernatural here, employing modern technology to capture sounds and images that suggest the castle is a hotbed of paranormal activity.
Some of these investigations have yielded intriguing results, including unexplained EVP, electronic voice phenomenon recordings, photographs of orbs and mists, and even video footage that shows shadows moving in inexplicable ways.
Despite, or perhaps because of its chilling reputation, Houska Castle has become a popular destination for those intrigued by the paranormal. Tourists often share their experiences of feeling watched, hearing whispers, and even seeing figures in the shadows as they explore the castle.
And it's not just about frights and chills. Many visitors come to Houska seeking a deeper understanding of the supernatural, or even a personal encounter with the unknown. The castle's dark allure invites curiosity and fear alike, making it a profound place for reflection on the nature of evil and the paranormal.
Let's cast our gaze to a small island in Italy, tucked away in the Venetian lagoon. Poveglia Island, often shrouded in mist and mystery, is one of the most secluded and eerily captivating places in Italy. Due to its chilling history, it has earned the nickname Island of Ghosts.
It's a place that seems almost cut from the pages of a dark fairy tale, Alex. Isolated, forsaken, and with a past that's as haunting as the broken structures that litter its landscape. The silence here masks whispers from its troubled past.
Poveglia's history is as dark as they come. Initially used by the Romans, it found its notorious purpose during the bubonic plague outbreaks. The island became a quarantine colony where the sick and dying were brought, many times against their will, to breathe their last far away from the healthy.
And it didn't end there. In the 1920s, the island became home to a mental hospital, where it is said that a doctor tortured and experimented on patients only to meet his own grisly end. He allegedly threw himself from the hospital's bell tower, driven mad by the ghosts of those he had tormented.
Which brings us to the heart of Poveglia's haunting reputation. The island is reputed to be haunted by the souls of those who died here, plague victims, war victims, and mistreated patients alike. Their moans and screams are said to echo through the abandoned buildings and along the desolate shorelines.
Fishermen even avoid casting their nets near Poveglia, fearing they'll catch human bones along with their fish. And those who have braved the island speak of overwhelming feelings of dread, sudden drops in temperature, and encounters with shadows that seem to have a life of their own.
The Italian government has largely banned public access to Poveglia, making official investigations rare. However, the few paranormal teams that have managed to visit report intense paranormal activity, unexplained noises, EVP recordings that suggest presence, and even physical tugs and pushes.
Despite, or perhaps because of these restrictions, the island's mystique only grows. It remains an elusive enigma, a place that both invites curiosity and repels with its somber, haunted history.
Poveglia's story has not gone unnoticed in popular culture. It's been featured on various paranormal investigation shows, which have amplified its reputation worldwide. The island embodies the quintessential haunted locale, secluded, shrouded in history, and brimming with tales of the paranormal.
It serves as a stark reminder of our fascination with the afterlife and the unseen. Poveglia challenges us to confront our fears, to question the line between myth and history, and to imagine the lives of those who walked its soil.
As we leave the shadowed walls of cursed castles and haunted forts, we turn our attention to some of the most chilling accommodations around the globe. Welcome to our exploration of Eerie hotels and inns, where guests check in but don't always check out, at least, not the same.
That's right, Alex. These aren't your typical holiday getaways. Each hotel and inn we're about to discuss has a story to tell, often written in the whispers of the corridors and the creaks of the floorboards. These places have become as famous for their spirits as they are for their hospitality.
Think about it, hotels and inns are places of transient populations, crossroads of countless personal stories. And sometimes, some of those personal stories linger in the form of ghosts and hauntings. Why do you think that is?
It's fascinating, Alex. Perhaps it's because hotels and inns are places of intense emotions and pivotal life moments. Joy, sorrow, fear, desperation. All these emotions can imprint themselves on these locations. And let's not forget, some of these establishments have histories dating back hundreds of years, ripe with tales of tragedy, scandal, and mystery.
From the mist-enshrouded Stanley Hotel, which inspired Stephen King's The Shining, to the quaint yet hauntingly eerie ancient Ramen in England, each location offers a unique window into the unknown. These are the places where the line between the past and the present fades, where the spirits of guests from yesteryears continue their eternal vacation.
And as we pull back the dusty curtains and peek into these ghostly guest rooms, we'll uncover what makes these hotels and inns not just stops on a journey, but destinations in their own right for those fascinated by the paranormal. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out that some guests never really leave.
So, grab your room key and a flashlight, because we're about to check into some of the most haunted accommodations in the world. Are you ready to explore the hidden stories behind the Do Not Disturb signs?
Absolutely, Alex. Let's open the guest book on these eerie accommodations and see what spectral stories await us. And to our listeners, remember, the next time you stay at a hotel, listen closely. You might just hear more than the ice machine in the hallway.
Nestled in the scenic Estes Park of Colorado, the Stanley Hotel isn't just another grand, historic hotel. It's a landmark that has captured the imagination of millions around the world, thanks to its connection to one of the most iconic horror stories ever written, Stephen King's The Shining.
That's right, Alex. It's not every day that a hotel becomes as famous for its literary legacy as it is for its accommodations. The Stanley's eerie ambiance and ghostly tales provided the perfect inspiration for King's chilling novel, forever marking it as a mecca for fans of the supernatural and the paranormal.
The Stanley Hotel opened its doors in 1909, founded by freelance Oscar Stanley, a man driven to the west by his battle with tuberculosis. Originally intended as a luxurious retreat for the elite, its pristine, remote location offered rejuvenation and was a showcase of Edwardian opulence.
Over the decades, the Stanley not only served as a haven for wealthy vacationers, but also transformed into a cultural icon, attracting guests from all walks of life. Its architecture and pristine mountain backdrop have made it a sought-after destination for travelers worldwide.
But it's the hotel's residents of the spectral variety that draw just as much attention. Guests and staff alike have reported countless encounters with the otherworldly. From the original owner, F.O. Stanley, who is often seen in the lobby and the billiard room, to his wife, Flora, who is said to play the piano in the music room.
Then there are the numerous reports of laughter and footsteps echoing through empty halls, ghostly figures appearing in guests' photographs, and even the sounds of children playing on the 4th floor, where past nannies and their charges once stayed.
Embracing its haunted reputation, the Stanley offers nightly ghost tours that delve into the hotel's paranormal past and present. These tours take guests through darkened hallways and creaky rooms, sharing tales of unexplained phenomena and eerie encounters.
For the bravest souls, the hotel even hosts a spirited overnight experience, allowing guests to spend the night in one of the reputedly most haunted rooms. It's an opportunity to possibly meet the ghostly guests firsthand, an irresistible lure for ghost hunters and thrill seekers alike.
But let's not forget the impact the Stanley Hotel has had on literature and film. After his stay in room 217, which is famously known for its supernatural occurrences, Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining, a novel that explores the dark side of isolation and the supernatural.
The book, and subsequently the film, thrust the Stanley into the spotlight, making it a landmark for horror enthusiasts. It's a prime example of how real-world places can stir the imagination, influencing literature and film in profound ways.
Nestled in the quaint village of Watton-under-Edge, Gloucestershire, stands one of England's oldest and most haunted buildings, the ancient Ram Inn. With its time-worn stone and wood structure, this inn exudes an atmosphere that's ripe for ghostly tales.
That's right, Alex. It's the kind of place that looks like it's been plucked right out of a Gothic novel. Its creaky floorboards and dimly lit rooms set the perfect stage for the numerous ghost stories that have accumulated over centuries.
Built in 1145, the ancient Ram Inn has served various purposes, from a priest's dwelling to a public house. But it's not just its age that makes this inn fascinating. It's built on the intersection of two ley lines, which some believe are conduits for spiritual activity, and directly over an ancient pagan burial ground.
These elements create a potent mix for paranormal activity. The inn has been at the center of community life for nearly a millennium, and with that comes a storied history of folklore, tragedy, and the supernatural.
Among the spirits reported to haunt the inn, perhaps the most chilling is that of a witch burned at the stake in the 1500s. Her spirit is said to linger in the room where she was purportedly hidden, now ominously known as the Witch's Room.
Then there are the heart-wrenching stories of children. Guests have reported hearing the cries of a small girl who met her end at the inn. There's also talk of a former innkeeper's daughter, tragically murdered, whose presence is felt in what was once her bedroom.
The tales of personal encounters at the ancient Ram Inn are both numerous and vivid. Previous owners and visitors have reported everything from being touched and pulled by unseen hands to witnessing full apparitions of the former residents.
One former owner spoke of constantly feeling watched, of doors slamming shut of their own accord, and even of being physically pushed by invisible forces. Guests often report leaving the inn with an unforgettable impression of their eerie encounters.
It's no surprise that the ancient Ram Inn has caught the attention of the media, appearing on various paranormal investigation shows and documentaries. These programs have attempted to document the unexplained phenomena, often leaving the crew and viewers alike convinced of the inn's haunted reputation.
Each episode filmed at the inn seems to add another layer to its mystique, attracting more curious souls eager to experience its spooky atmosphere firsthand. Whether skeptic or believer, the ancient Ram Inn offers a compelling glimpse into the paranormal side of England's rich history.
Perched on the oceanfront, with its iconic red roof turrets glinting under the California sun, the Hotel del Coronado isn't just a stunning beachside landmark. It's also a place where beauty meets mystery, hosting both vacationers and, perhaps, a few permanent spectral guests.
That's right, Alex. Affectionately known as the Del, this hotel combines luxury with lore, making it a favorite for both the living and, it seems, the spirit world. Its picturesque setting belies a past that's tangled with tales of intrigue and hauntings.
Built in 1888, Hotel del Coronado quickly became a beacon of high society, drawing in presidents, royalty, and celebrities. But the most compelling story from its storied past revolves around Kate Morgan, a young woman who checked in 1892 and never checked out.
Her tragic story is a tapestry of mystery and melancholy. Kate was found dead on the steps leading to the beach, and her death was officially ruled as suicide. However, numerous discrepancies and unanswered questions have led to speculation that there was more to her death than meets the eye.
Kate's spirit is said to be the most active and well-known ghost at the delegate guests and staff report seeing her sad figure wandering the halls, particularly around her third-floor guest room, which has become a focal point for paranormal investigators.
There are also reports of strange occurrences like flickering lights, inexplicable sounds, and objects moving on their own in her room. Some say you can feel a chill or a sense of sadness as you approach the door, as if Kate's restless spirit is still lingering, perhaps waiting for justice or closure.
Hotel del Coronado's allure isn't limited to its hauntings. It's a cultural icon, featured in books and movies, most famously perhaps in Some Like It Hot, starring Marilyn Monroe. The hotel's architecture and history have made it a go-to filming location for tales of romance and mystery.
Beyond cinema, the hotel's story and its ghostly lore have been covered in numerous books and documentaries, captivating audiences worldwide. These tales add layers to the hotel's rich narrative, inviting curious souls to explore its halls and perhaps encounter a bit of the paranormal.
Many guests come to the Del for its history and stay for the ghost stories. Some leave with tales of their own, recounting eerie experiences, unexpected encounters, and sometimes a spooky photo or two.
Whether it's a whispered name, a sudden cold draft, or a glimpse of a figure passing by a mirror, these personal stories continue to contribute to the Del's mystique. For some, these experiences are thrilling. For others, they're a glimpse into the unknown.
As we venture further into the shadows of our exploration, let's shift our focus from haunted inns and hotels to the ghostly echoes of abandoned villages and towns. These places, once bustling with life, now stand silent, their emptiness cloaked in mystery and often a sense of unease.
Absolutely, Alex. There's something inherently haunting about a deserted town. Windows of empty homes staring out like hollow eyes. Streets once filled with voices now echoing with nothing but the wind. These abandoned places across the globe serve as poignant reminders of what once was.
It's as if the very absence of life amplifies the presence of something else, doesn't it, Sam? Maybe it's the history, the stories left behind, or perhaps something more tangible. What do you think draws us to these forgotten places?
I think it's a mixture of curiosity and the thrill of the unknown. Abandoned villages and towns are like time capsules. They hold the remnants of daily life paused in time, and yet they're dynamic canvases for urban legends and ghost stories. Each site offers a unique glimpse into a past that's both visible and invisible.
From the mining towns of the American West to the evacuated villages near Chernobyl, each of these places has its own story of decline, economic disasters, natural calamities, or human conflicts. The reasons are as varied as the locations themselves.
And with these stories come reports of hauntings, apparitions of former residents, sounds of activity where there should be none, and an eerie feeling that past lives are somehow still lingering. These reports make these sites not just locations for historical interest, but hotspots for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers alike.
As we explore these abandoned sites, we'll delve into their histories, the reasons for their decline, and the supernatural phenomena that have been reported. We'll try to understand not just the what and the how, but the why. Why do these places continue to hold our attention? Why do they remain, in some ways, alive?
And as we peel back the layers of these ghost towns, we invite you, our listeners, to join us in pondering these mysteries. Do you feel the pull of these abandoned places? Is it the allure of their history, the beauty of decay, or the chill of reported hauntings that draws you in?
So, keep your minds open and your senses alert as we step into the silent streets and deserted doorways of the world's most hauntingly beautiful abandoned villages and towns. Let's uncover the stories they've been waiting to tell. Nestled in the rugged hills of southern Italy, there lies a ghost town that time seems to have forgotten, Craco. This abandoned medieval village, with its hauntingly uninhabited and crumbling structures, stands as a poignant monument to the past.
It's almost like stepping onto a movie set, Alex. The silence is profound, broken only by the wind whispering through empty streets and hollow buildings. It's a place that captivates the imagination and stirs the soul.
Founded in the 8th century, Craco thrived through the Middle Ages and into modern times. However, its story took a turn in the 20th century. The town faced a series of misfortunes, starting with a landslide in 1963, followed by floods in 1972 and another landslide in 1980.
These natural disasters made life in Craco increasingly perilous. By the 1980s, the remaining inhabitants were compelled to abandon their homes, leaving the town to the elements. Today, Craco stands frozen in time, a relic of what was once a vibrant community.
With such a rich and tumultuous history, it's no surprise that Craco is wrapped in legends of the paranormal. Locals and visitors alike have reported sightings of ghostly figures wandering the deserted streets, as if the former residents are reluctant to leave their homes behind.
Some say you can hear voices on the wind, echoes of the past, perhaps. There are stories of spectral figures seen looking out from the windows, watching over the town. It's as though Craco's past inhabitants are still part of its present.
The eerie beauty of Craco has not gone unnoticed by filmmakers. Its otherworldly appearance has made it an ideal backdrop for movies looking to capture a ghost town or medieval setting. Films like The Passion of the Christ and Quantum of Solace have used Craco to set the scene for their epic narratives.
Its cinematic allure is undeniable. The stark, dramatic visuals of its decaying facades and empty plazas provide a powerful visual narrative that enhances any film.
Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Craco has become a magnet for tourists, thrill seekers, and paranormal enthusiasts. Guided tours are available, offering visitors a safe way to explore this hauntingly beautiful ghost town.
These tours not only offer a glimpse into Craco's storied past, but also cater to those drawn by its ghost stories. For many, it's an adventure, a chance to walk through a medieval village that feels suspended between history and legend.
If Craco's mysterious charm intrigues you, why not plan a visit? But remember, while its streets invite exploration, they also command respect for their history and their spirits.
And for those who visited or are planning to, we'd love to hear your stories. Have you ever felt the ghostly presence of Craco's past residents? Share your experiences and let us delve deeper into the mystery together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on our journey through the world's most haunted places on Hallowed Hauntings.
Our next stop takes us to Pripyat, Ukraine, a city that tells a story unlike any other. This city wasn't abandoned over decades or centuries. It was evacuated overnight following the catastrophic Chernobyl nuclear disaster in April 1986. Today, it stands frozen in time, a modern ruin, a ghost town in the truest sense.
It's a chilling reminder, Alex, of how quickly a bustling city can turn into a silent monument to the past. The streets, homes, and playgrounds of Pripyat are now just echoes of their former selves, haunted not just by the memory of what happened, but also, some say, by those who never left.
Pripyat was once the model of Soviet urban planning, home to 50,000 people, most of whom worked at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The city was young, vibrant, and full of life. But on that fateful day in April 1986, everything changed when Reactor 4 exploded, releasing lethal amounts of radioactive contaminants into the atmosphere.
The residents were given only a few hours to evacuate. They were told it would be temporary, just a few days. Little did they know they were leaving their homes for the last time. The radiation turned their city into an uninhabitable zone, a stark zone of exclusion that remains to this day.
And in this eerie abandonment, reports of apparitions and otherworldly phenomena began to surface. Visitors and former residents speak of seeing shadows and figures moving through the desolate streets and abandoned buildings, perhaps the lingering spirits of those once connected to Pripyat.
There's a profound silence there, Alex, but also whispers of the past. A child's laughter fading into the distance, the ghostly flicker of a TV screen in a long darkened apartment. It's these reports that draw the curious and the brave, searching for encounters with the spectral remnants of a life interrupted.
The area around Pripyat, known as the exclusion zone, is tightly regulated by the government. Access is restricted, and visitors must obtain permits and follow strict safety guidelines. Despite these restrictions, guided tours are allowed, providing a controlled glimpse into the post-apocalyptic world of Pripyat.
These tours offer a haunting experience, walking through a city paused by disaster. The Ferris wheel in the amusement park, never used and now rusting. The classrooms with children's drawings still on the walls, all serve as poignant reminders of sudden loss.
Pripyat's haunting visage has captivated the imagination of artists and filmmakers around the world. It has been depicted in video games like Call of Duty and Stalker, where it's portrayed as a backdrop for narratives of survival and exploration in a post-apocalyptic landscape.
Documentaries and movies have also sought to capture the somber reality of Pripyat, each adding layers to the narrative of this ghost town. These cultural depictions help to keep the memory of the disaster alive, reminding us of the human costs of technological failures.
As we explore these haunted sites, we're reminded of the fragility of human existence and the enduring impact of history on our present. Pripyat stands as a monument not only to its past residents but also to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable disaster. Welcome to Bodie, California, a true embodiment of a ghost town. Frozen in time and preserved in a state of arrested decay, Bodie stands as a poignant reminder of the American Gold Rush era. This town isn't just a collection of old buildings, it's a portal to the past, where every structure tells a story.
That's exactly right, Alex. Visiting Bodie is like walking onto the set of an old Western that's paused mid-scene. The town is maintained just as it was left, giving visitors an authentic glimpse into a 19th century gold rush town, complete with the legends and spirits that linger in its shadows.
Bodie's story begins in 1859, when gold was discovered by W.S. Bodie, from whom the town got its name, but with a slight spelling change. The discovery turned this once obscure settlement into a booming gold rush town by the late 1870s, with a population swelling to nearly 10,000 people.
But as with many boom towns, the bust was inevitable. The mines began to deplete, the profits dwindled, and by the early 1900s, Bodie was on a decline. By the 1940s, it was officially designated a ghost town. Today, it remains suspended in time, watched over by the spirits of its former inhabitants.
And speaking of spirits, Bodie is reputed to be protected by the ghosts of its past residents. Legend has it that those who try to take anything from the town, even a small rock, will be cursed by the protective spirits of Bodie. There are numerous accounts of visitors returning items through the mail, accompanied by letters of apology after experiencing misfortunes.
The tales don't stop at curses. Visitors and park rangers have reported eerie sounds, ghostly whispers, and windows that slam shut without explanation. Some have seen apparitions of the old townsfolk in period clothing, appearing as if they've stepped straight out of the 1800s, only to vanish into thin air.
To keep Bodie in its preserved state, the California State Park System maintains the town as a historic park. They uphold the policy of arrested decay, which means repairing buildings only to the extent that they do not deteriorate further, but not restoring them to their former state.
This approach allows Bodie to retain its authentic, weather-beaten look, enhancing the feeling that you're stepping back into a long-forgotten era. It's a delicate balance between preserving history and maintaining the raw, untouched feel that makes Bodie unique.
The allure of Bodie draws thousands of visitors each year, many of whom come hoping to catch a glimpse of the paranormal. The stories they leave with only add to the mystique of the town. From photographs with mysterious figures to sudden drops in temperature and unexplained sounds, the experiences are as varied as they are chilling.
Indeed, whether it's the thrill of exploring a historic ghost town or the chill of encountering the unknown, Bodie offers something for every visitor. Each creaking door and gust of wind through the empty streets seems to whisper secrets of the past, waiting to be uncovered.
If you're intrigued by the stories of Bodie and want to experience its haunting beauty and eerie silence for yourself, this ghost town is a must-visit. But remember, take nothing but photographs, leave nothing but footprints, and respect the spirits who may still call Bodie home. As we draw the curtains on today's eerie journey through some of the world's most haunted places, from desolate ghost towns to chilling hotels and enigmatic castles, it's clear that each location is not just a story to tell but an entire history that whispers through the walls and wind.
Absolutely, Alex. We've traveled across continents and centuries today, exploring places where the past lingers powerfully in the present. These locations, steeped in tragedy, history, and a fair share of legend, offer more than just a scare. They offer a window into the human experience, the struggles and the enduring mysteries of life and death.
And what strikes me, Sam, is how these stories, whether they're grounded in fact or embellished by legend, continue to fascinate and haunt us. They challenge our understanding of the world, pushing us to consider what lies beyond the realm of the seen and known.
They really do, Alex. It's that intersection of history, tragedy, and legend that makes these places irresistible to those of us drawn to the darker side of humanity and the world. It's a reminder that our fascination with the paranormal is also a reflection of our own fears and curiosities.
So, whether you're a skeptic or a believer, we hope today's episode has sparked your imagination and maybe even sent a chill down your spine. But more importantly, we hope it's encouraged you to think about the stories hidden in the shadows of these haunted places.
And we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever visited a place we talked about today? Have you experienced something unexplainable or chilling that you can't quite forget? Or is there a haunted locale you think we should explore in a future episode? Share your stories and suggestions with us.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Hallowed Hauntings on YouTube and TikTok. Visit our blog and check out our shop at hallowedhauntings.com for more spine-tingling content and some cool gear to take with you on your ghostly adventures.
Join the conversation by commenting below, sharing your experiences, or connecting with us on social media. We're always on the lookout for the next haunted mystery to unravel, and your input could lead us to our next thrilling exploration.
Until next time, keep your eyes open and your flashlights handy. You never know what's lurking around the next corner or hidden in the shadows of history. Thanks for joining us, and remember, the past is never as far away as it seems.
Stay spooky, everyone. Goodbye for now, and keep those ghost stories coming.